So Chris, where are you now?
I'm in Lake Macquarie in Australia.
Australia. And the boat is currently in?
Alicante,
Okay.
Spain.
And Nathalie, you are French, but you are at the moment in the Netherlands.
In Bergen, in the Netherlands.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And Steffie, you're also out of the country.
Yes, I'm away. I am in Germany. I'm on the Baltic Sea, right between Kiel and Travemünde, two big sailing cities.
Ah, I see. Well, I'm only in Utrecht.
And you, Klaas, where are you?
Not close to a shore.
Welcome, and today we have Managing Director from the W Ocean Racing, Nathalie Queré, and sailing legend Chris Nicholson in the show. Thank you for joining us. And Klaas, you're a huge fan of Chris Nicholson, right?
Yeah, definitely. I follow him a long time. And as a former five times 49er world champion, Chris, is that correct?
Back in the old days? No, I wish it was 5. There's definitely 3 that I know of.
Oh, 3, okay.
I'm happy to go with 5.
Okay, I'm always amazed to see the skippers of the current skippers of the Volvo Ocean Race in their old days on 80-foot skiffs and doing crazy things, and now sailing on big boats. But great to have you here. And Steffie, I heard you say the W Ocean Racing team?
Yes, W Ocean Racing. It's the only Dutch entry to the ocean race at the moment. We haven't heard much about it, so we're very excited to hear what you all have to tell. Nathalie, W Ocean Racing, what boat are you currently sailing with?
Well, at the moment, we are managing the VO65 from AkzoNobel. So after the last race, we kept a very good relationship with AkzoNobel. They've asked us to look after the yacht. So this is what we are currently sailing with. This is corporate sailing, so we are not racing. It's corporate sailing for customers.
Okay, so since you say you sail with the old AkzoNobel boat, is the boat still branded that way?
Yes, the boat is still branded AkzoNobel. The boat is in Alicante at the moment, onshore, waiting for when we can resume our sailing activities. But at the moment, yes, it's still the purple boat.
So, but you are the Dutch entry. Why did you decide to make it a Dutch-based company?
Well, a very simple reason. I live in the Netherlands. When we started the company with Chris last year, after the race, in the continuation of the race, we met during the race, and we felt that we had a lot to bring to the sailing business. Both on the sports side, but also on the business side of things. We started the company here from the Netherlands. I mean, the Netherlands is my second home country, so that's very important. But also it is at the heart of Europe. It's a very interesting base for us to sail from. It's also the home of a lot of international companies. And when you're looking at putting a campaign together, and if you look at the experience and the way we can provide value to potential sponsors, we feel that we are really well equipped to talk to multinationals. And here in the Netherlands, this is the right place to be.
Mm-hmm. And the Netherlands obviously has a very rich heritage in sailing. With that being said, we have a lot of very talented sailing talents, young aspiring sailors in the country. Chris, can you tell me a little bit more about the possible crew formation? Do you already have an idea who might be possibly on the crew? What nationalities are they from? Can you tell us something about that?
Oh, yeah, hi, Stephanie. Yeah, like with these international projects, quite often there's, you always want to try and do a flavour of the sponsor and of the country that you're flagged with. So, having said that, there's some countries in the world that are quite easily to satisfy that. Australia, New Zealand, the Netherlands, France, Spain are those countries where there's a big pool of sailors that are kind of, they're almost race ready for this, and we've been sailing with some Dutch sailors last year when we were doing some of our corporate activities. Rosalind Cooper, sorry, my pronunciation, and you know, and okay, there you go,
Yeah.
and you know, like, but it's kind of like it's almost new generation of younger, to be honest, the younger Dutch sailors that I think are that are the future. So that's kind of where we're more targeted.
Yes. So in terms of the selection process, what does it look like? For these aspiring young sailors, can you tell us a little bit more about how you handle this?
Well, to date, as such, there basically is no selection process yet until, you know, we've got a fair journey ahead of us in terms of financing and finishing off the project. So to date, it's more about, you know, like we're doing the hard work now to try and get to the point of entry into the race. So what do I look for now? I look for people that are devoted to the cause of doing the race and improving themselves and being the best that they can and fitting into a team. So all the dynamics that you want to see in the race that get to stay now.
So you're still in the scouting process, as to say.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, you know, no one's job's guaranteed, myself included. If we're not doing the job as good as we can, then there's a lot of people that want to do this race. So it's kind of like it's a tough selection, and it needs to be. But you also give people every opportunity possible.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of youngsters watching right now that have hopes and dreams of one day competing in this race. I would assume there is no. Is there a way to submit a resume somewhere?
Yeah, lots of people, you know, their resumes find your way to the inbox. Obviously, is the most logical step, but you know, like the people who are right for this race, they're known. You know, they've sailed with somebody who sailed with someone who you know, and they're good people. They work hard. They're devoted to what they want to do. They have all the right ethics and work ethic and it gives them a really high chance of succeeding. And then they've got to be prepared to start off, you know, fairly low down on the ladder and work their way up. It's a really hard game to kind of come in at middle level or higher level as such, you know, because it is, you know, it's the premier yacht race, the ocean race in the world.
You have to pay your dues first. And Klaas, I think you had a question as well, right?
Yeah, I was wondering, Chris, are you aiming to be the skipper yourself?
Yeah, at this stage, yes, but like I said, you know, it's nothing's guaranteed. But you know, like to be honest, you know, like with W Ocean Racing and how we're running the project, we'll do what is best and what fits in with the project.
Nathalie, I see a wonderful picture of the boat behind you, but it looks very different than the AXO boat. Can you tell me a little bit about the branding, the sponsoring? What's the status, and what are you looking for at the moment?
Yeah, so a beautiful image of a beautiful boat, a little bit white. I think that's very much neutral, and that's on purpose today. We are not unveiling our colors yet. We've been having quite advanced discussions with many companies, many international companies. As Chris was saying, we are still in the process of finalizing our project, our campaign. We are not yet at all in a situation to announce any partners. How do we look at it? Well, we feel that the race, of course, it's an iconic race in terms of sport, performance, adventure, and human adventure. But it's also a very strong business and communication platform. So when we talk to companies, we come to them with the race and the boat as a platform, as a communication platform. We also feel that, and having seen it firsthand in the last race, there is a massive opportunity for co-marketing opportunities between different partners. So when we look at our ideal setup, of course, a main partner, a name partner is great, and that's something that we are really looking forward to. But we are also very keen to have a family of sponsors, companies together that strengthen each other with their activation plan, with their business opportunity, co-opportunities. So that's a little bit the setup that we are looking at. So we have naturally an interest for B2B because that's where we feel we can bring the most value. And I also personally believe the Ocean Race is a fantastic platform for B2B development and business opportunities.
Wonderful. So lots of things happening. And Klaas, you had something else, right?
Yeah. I was wondering, are you looking to go for now at the moment you're sailing with the old Volvo Ocean Race 65, but there are also IMOCAs in the next Ocean Race. Is that part of your plan to sail with IMOCA, or you still have
I guess I should answer this one. You know, Klaas, I think from a pure sailing point of view, if you ask which is the boat you would prefer to sail now for the most enjoyment, it would be the 60. And if you ask me which is the boat that you'd prefer to race, and then the 65 probably jumps back into it, because the racing, as we all saw in the last race, has never ever been closer and more competitive than the last race. So it's a very hard decision. What I think will come down to is the practicalities of the naming rights sponsor. What's the best fit, and what delivers the most for them, and also for the sport. So I'm reserving judgment on that for a little bit further down the track. I know we'd like to have an answer now, but we're in a unique position where we have access to a 65, and we don't have to make that call yet.
And a lot probably also depends on the potential sponsors and their wishes for the race, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that's first and foremost. I can see a lot of enjoyment in either boat. So I'm not too fussed.
So we've been talking about the sailing aspect and the different boats. So there's a lot happening at the moment. So Nathalie, events will probably change as well. What are your thoughts on like the big events and how the nature might change due to the whole Corona crisis?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, and I will focus on sport events because we know that the event industry is impacted, the corporate event industry, but sport events as well. I mean, broadly speaking, if you look at other sports like football or sports being played in stadium with a lot of spectators, so the mass public sports, clearly there is an impact. Coming back to our sports of sailing, I'm looking carefully at how sailing events and the upcoming sailing events are unfolding. Are they confirmed? We've seen a lot of cancellation in the sort of hot period of the crisis. In the coming month, how it will look like, I think people will start realizing that, as you say, things can't be exactly the same. How do we get public and spectators at start of races? I think if you look at what's going on in France with the Vendée Globe, there is a lot of discussion on how it should look like. How do you keep the magic of the start of a race and at the same time ensure the safety and the health of the public? How do you keep the race itself? I do think that there are solutions. I'm also, of course, a big fan of sailing as a sport. I think sailing has a lot of value and opportunity to bring. I like the idea of virtual stadium, so where sailing is not only about what's happening at the start, it's actually more about what's happening during the race on board, either with a solo skipper or a crew. Those stories are so much value for the sport of sailing. So how sailing events will change, they will. But I do feel there are opportunities to tell those stories even in a stronger way. And there is, I mean, we can have a discussion about content. There is a craving for content on not only on social media, but also on traditional media, and sailing has a big opportunity there.
Yes, and with the whole new developments in technology, social media, cameras, it becomes so much easier to bring the experience to people in their homes from the boat, where, let's say, 7 years ago, it was very hard. You were only able to see a couple pictures, and now you can almost bring the full experience. Actually, you mentioned the Vendée Globe. Which is the first event that I've heard that will actually proceed, which is also very big with public and spectators. Klaas, you've been there, right?
Well, I've been the start and the finish.
Yes, that's what I meant.
That's something different. Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of the Vendée Globe. Yes, indeed. And last time with the finish of the Hugo Boss and the Banque Populaire was very exciting. And yeah, well, let's hope that it will take place this time.
Yes, hopefully it can proceed. And then for Chris, so we talked about the nature of events changing. How do you look at the future of sailing? I see a lot of double-handed racing is becoming popular. What are your thoughts on the future of the sport of sailing in general?
Yeah, I think well, double-handed racing was becoming quite a bit more popular. I think, well, at least within Australia in the last year, for sure, leading into the COVID crisis. I think now, coming out at the end of that, you see people. I see people at our local clubs and friends that, they're a bit more into the social aspect of the sport, which I think is fantastic, because the racing hasn't been growing as such, but the social aspect of it has a lot to go. But also a lot of the yacht owners, they don't want to have to chase and find 10 or 12 crew to go for a sail. They want people, I think at the moment, want a little bit less hassle in their lives. I think double-handed and more simplified yachts and easier sail systems will feature in the years ahead. Just less complicated.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's like I come from like the 40-45 foot range, and nobody wants to make the commitment anymore, especially amongst the younger people. It's becoming a drag for owners to find crew. Yeah. Everybody's going smaller. Actually, with the boats becoming smaller and more simplified and us being stuck at home, do you think it might also be maybe a push that younger people might want to go sailing again? Is this something, for example, a dinghy as well, you can do on your own and still go out without being in big crowds?
I think so. I just look back, and the most bored I ever get sailing is when there's a lot of crew and there's not enough jobs and there's not enough work to do. And you might have one small little tiny job, which is important, but it's only done once every 15, 20 minutes. Whereas, like we want the sport to grow. We need to challenge people, and they need to enjoy it more. And I think I think, you know, less crew numbers, more work, more reward for what they do is one of the ways forward.
And it makes you a better sailor as well, sailing smaller boats.
Yeah.
And one last question for Nathalie. The W, what does it stand for?
You a sailor, you should know. It's a.
I'm glad you didn't ask me.
It's the shape of a constellation of stars. One of them that leads you to the North Star. So.
I like it. I like it. Thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you. This was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steffi.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great talking to you.